Hitman Agent Ji-eun is a Korean action comedy film about a boy named Joon who loses his parents in a car accident. He is adopted by the government, who have Project Shield, and he is trained as a child to be the ultimate killing machine. So he's a one-man army, and he's made lots of enemies over the years, created a name for himself as a legendary hitman Joon. However, Joon dies after a routine operation. His parachute doesn't deploy, and he supposedly drowns in the ocean. However, Joon faked his death because he always wanted to be a cartoonist, and it's something he would never be able to do with the skills given to him by the government. So he manages to swim away. 15 years later, he's an unsuccessful cartoonist. His wife is an art teacher. Mina basically is the breadwinner, and he's got a daughter named Yi-kyung, and she wants to be a rapper, but she doesn't think too highly of her own father. So when his webcomic is about to be canned, he decides to get drunk and angry and starts creating a new webcomic based off his own life. And his own life is rather interesting because it's like a, almost like a Jason Bourne-like story, an orphan boy having to train with the devil of trainers and becoming like a badass and doing all these cool missions. It becomes a huge viral hit in Korea. However, it also spurs on the attention of everyone. An old enemy of his shows up and wanting revenge because he thought Joon was dead. And then his old boss, the chief, shows up, and he's got a younger agent, Cheol, used to idolize Joon. So now they're all after him. They want to bring him in because they think he's been killing their agents for money. And that's why he sort of wrote this webcomic for extra money to taunt them or something. The plot's a little bit all over the place. This movie has some somewhat decent action, but you can definitely tell it's a lower budget film. A lot of the big budget stuff is sort of done in an animated style. And then, there's a couple of fight scenes, but the movie is very silly and wacky, especially in the second half. The movie doesn't take itself too seriously, but it seriously undercuts the tension and the suspense because everyone's sort of just joking around. They're not shooting at each other. They're not killing each other. It's sort of just brawling and fighting in a warehouse. So overall, it's an okay film, and I give it a 6 out of 10. Hitman 2 is the sequel to Hitman Agent Ji-eun. I didn't know this movie was coming out. I just watched the original first because I never heard of it before. But the sequel is a massive improvement over the first film. It's been several years since his season 1 of Assassination Agent Joon webcomic fully became a huge viral hit in Korea. However, Joon took the money and made a bad investment, so he really doesn't actually have any money after a whole season of webcomics. And then he's supposed to start season 2, but he's run out of ideas, so he starts trying to turn it into a different thing, and people hate it. Meanwhile, his wife is now a successful art gallery director, and his daughter's studying because she doesn't want to be a rapper anymore. So he's kind of stagnated in his sort of success, but however, with the release of the Assassination Agent Joon, a lot of his old enemies keep smuggling into Korea to sort of find him, and they're being defeated by Agent Cheol and the chief, and being kept a secret from him because he's a civilian now. However, when Joon decides to come up with a new heist for some new villains for Joon to fight, someone in real life copies the webcomic, does the same heist, and gets him into trouble because now it looks like he's coming up with the ideas for the villains. Maybe he's working with them. So it ends up being a sort of, we have to catch the villains to clear my name kind of story. But this movie is a lot better because the bigger budget, better action sequences, but also a darker tone. The second half of this movie really kicks it into high gear, and there's some killing, there's some actual danger and fighting. It's not just everyone sort of laughing and joking around and being silly. It's like a serious John Wick-like action movie. So I really liked how they took it a little bit more serious than normal. And it's the same plot of something I've seen before, but at least it's taking itself really seriously, and I like that effort. So I give Hitman 2 a 7 out of 10.